If you can dance this waltz, I'll marry my son to you. If you can dance this waltz, I'll marry my son to you. William Thompson III sneered, pointing his champagne glass at the black woman who'd just dropped a crystal tray. The shattering glass silenced 200 guests at Thompson Holdings' opening party. All eyes turned to Kesha Williams, 35, a contract cleaner of 3 weeks. "Dad, you're being ridiculous," whispered Jonathan Thompson, 28. But William ignored him, drunk on power and whiskey. "This person doesn't have coordination to clean properly. Let's test if she can even move to the beat." Kesha remained kneeling, picking up shards with trembling hands, but her eyes revealed something no one could decipher, not humiliation or fear, but deep calm. "Play a waltz," William announced. "If she can dance better than my wife, I'll marry my son to her on the spot." Imagine, the heir to the Thompson fortune marrying the cleaning lady. Collective laughter echoed like a wave of cruelty. Kesha stood, wiped her hands, and looked directly at William. For a moment that seemed eternal, she remained silent. "I accept," she said in a clear voice that cut through the air like a sharp blade. The hall fell silent. Even the orchestra stopped. "What did you say?" William asked, his arrogance shaken. "I accept your challenge. But when I dance better than your wife, you will keep your word, even if it was said as a joke." As everyone laughed louder, no one noticed the familiar gleam in Kesha's eyes, the same gleam that had once mesmerized audiences on the world's most prestigious stages before one tragic night changed her life. William's wife, Victoria Thompson, 50, known for her ballroom dancing lessons to Manhattan's elite, approached with a venomous smile. "Darling, do you really think I need to compete with this?" "Don't be modest, Victoria," William replied. "You won that club waltz trophy last year." Kesha watched silently, but her mind flew back 15 years when she was Kesha Morrow, principal dancer with the American National Ballet. Audiences rose in ovation, reviews compared her to the greatest ballerinas in history. It ended one tragic night. A car accident after a special performance, 3 months in a coma. Her legs would never be the same. Dance professionally. Impossible, the doctors said. "Put the music on," William ordered the DJ. "Place your bets. $500 for those who bet on my wife. $1,000 for anyone brave enough to bet on the employee." Cruel laughter echoed. Some guests actually began placing bets. "When you lose," William said, approaching Kesha with a wicked smile, "I want you on your knees apologizing for wasting everyone's time. Then, obviously, you're fired." Something changed in Kesha's eyes. The same determination that had led her to dance on international stages. The same strength that made her fight through months of physical therapy just to walk again. "Mr. Thompson," she said with eerie calmness, "when I win, and I will win, I want you to keep your word about the marriage. But I also want you to admit in front of these guests that you judged a woman wrongly based on the color of her skin and the work she does. And I want a public apology." The room tensed. William laughed loudly. "You've got guts. All right, I accept. But when you make a fool of yourself, you'll leave here without a job or any dignity left." As Victoria warmed up with basic ballroom moves, Kesha stood motionless. 15 years of brutal physical therapy had forged resilience these elites couldn't understand. A low voice beside her spoke. "I'm Marcus, head of security. I saw you dance 15 years ago at the National Theater." Kesha Morrow, principal soloist. Kesha's heart raced. Someone had recognized her. "I thought you died in the accident." Not all of it was true. "Marcus, record everything after I dance, especially the reactions." "Why?" "Because underestimating someone can be the most expensive mistake of their lives." Victoria began her presentation with competent but predictable moves. Her technique was amateurish by professional standards. She received polite applause. "Well done. Now our guest artist." Kesha walked to the center, each step measured, controlled, dignified. "What song would you like?" "The same one. From the beginning." William laughed. "She wants a second chance." What they didn't know. Kesha had chosen that waltz strategically. She danced it hundreds of times, one of her last performances before the accident when she'd received a 5-minute standing ovation. The music began. Kesha started to move. Not the hesitant steps everyone expected, but with grace that made the air change instantly, as if gravity had lost power over her. Her first movements were subtle, allowing low expectations. But as the music gained momentum, something extraordinary happened. Each step became more fluid, each turn more precise, each movement charged with emotion that mesmerized everyone. William stopped laughing. Victoria stopped smiling. The room realized they weren't watching a cleaning lady, they were witnessing an artist reclaiming her place in the world. "My God," someone murmured. "She's exceptional." Kesha performed pirouettes that would challenge any professional ballerina, followed by a grand jeté that defied physics. This wasn't ballroom dancing. This was classical ballet of the highest order, masterfully adapted to the waltz. Marcus recorded the audience's reactions, especially William's face, which had gone from scorn to confusion to terror. "Who the hell is this woman?" William whispered. When Kesha performed her trademark sequence from her National Theatre days, the truth began to strike some like lightning. "Wait," said a patron of the arts. "I know those moves. I've seen that sequence before." When the music reached its climax, Kesha performed fouettes, continuous turns on one leg that left everyone speechless. The music ended. Kesha finished in a pose simultaneously powerful and vulnerable, arms outstretched, head held high with absolute dignity. Silence lasted an eternity. Then one person applauded, then another. Within seconds, the entire hall was on its feet with intensity that made windows rattle. "Bravo! Extraordinary!" William was pale as a ghost. Marcus approached, still recording. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Kesha Morrow, former principal soloist with the American National Ballet." The name echoed like a bomb. Kesha Morrow was a legend who'd mysteriously disappeared after a tragic accident. "Impossible," Victoria stammered. "Kesha Morrow is dead." "Clearly," Kesha said, "the rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated." "Mr. Thompson," Marcus said, "you said if she danced better than your wife, you would marry her to your son. The condition has been more than met." Jonathan approached. "Miss Morrow, I apologize for my father's behavior. It was inexcusable." "Jonathan, shut up," exploded William. "You will not apologize to her." "Mr. Thompson," Kesha said calmly, "I believe we have a marriage proposal to discuss." "A man of your standing surely keeps his word. You must be crazy if you think I'm honoring a drunken joke," William growled. "It wasn't a joke," Kesha smiled. "Marcus, play back the recording." Marcus played William making the bet, doubling the conditions, publicly declaring he would marry his son to her if she won. "That's blackmail." "No," Kesha corrected. "This is accountability. You made a public bet with clear terms in front of 200 witnesses." Jonathan moved closer to Kesha. "Miss Morrow, if you will allow me, I would like to honor my father's word. Not because I'm forced to, but because any man would be honored to marry someone of your talent and dignity. Jonathan, if you do this, you're out of the company, out of the family, out of everything." William shook with rage. "Then so be it," Jonathan replied, extending his hand to Kesha. "Some things are more important than money, Dad. Like having integrity." Kesha looked at William, who was having a nervous breakdown. "Mr. Thompson, 15 years ago, people like you decided I had no value after I became imperfect. Today, you tried to humiliate me based on my skin color and the work I do to survive. But true nobility doesn't come from inheritance or bank accounts, it comes from how we treat others when we think no one is watching." She turned to Jonathan. "Your son learned that lesson despite your efforts. As for the proposal, I'll accept dinner, but marriage, that's something two people decide together based on love and respect, not humiliating bets." The audience erupted in applause, not just for the dance, but for her dignity and wisdom. William, having lost the bet and everyone's respect, muttered about lawyers and left with Victoria. Marcus's recording spread across social media like wildfire. In 24 hours, "Millionaire humiliates legendary ballerina" became a worldwide trending topic. William woke up to discover his company had lost $3 million in contracts overnight. "Dad," Jonathan said, finding his father in his office. The board voted. "You have 1 hour to resign or you'll be removed by force." "You betrayed me," William murmured. "No, you betrayed yourself when you decided your arrogance was worth more than your humanity." Kesha was bombarded with offers. 3 international ballet companies wanted her to choreograph. Lincoln Center offered a solo event. Hollywood wanted to turn her story into a movie. But the offer that touched her most came from the community school children where she'd taught. They'd pooled their savings, $23, to offer her a scholarship to return to teaching. "I'll take it," Kesha said tearfully, "on one condition. Let's turn this into something bigger." 6 months later, the Kesha Morrow Center for the Arts opened in Manhattan, funded by worldwide donations. Jonathan, now running a revamped family business focused on social responsibility, was the first major donor. William had lost everything: his company, reputation, family. Victoria divorced him and moved to Europe. He was last seen working as a low-level consultant, a shadow of the arrogant man who believed money gave him the right to humiliate others. "What impresses me most," Marcus said at the center's opening, "watching Kesha teach diverse, smiling children, wasn't just victory over prejudice. It was a lesson in how true nobility responds to cruelty." Kesha smiled. "Sometimes we must lose everything to discover who we really are. And sometimes people must lose everything to learn who they should never have tried to be." Jonathan approached with flowers from the garden he'd planted. "Ready for dinner?" "Ready," she replied, accepting not only his arm but the new life she'd built on the ashes of her old one. Kesha's true revenge wasn't destroying William Thompson. It was building something so beautiful that his cruelty seemed insignificant in comparison. She proved that when we face prejudice with dignity and respond to hatred with excellence, we don't just win, we transform the world around us.